What is up, everybody? What's going on? Like we always do at this time, Thursday at 1 p.m., it's your boy, Jamil Jude, Artistic Director at Kenny Leon's TrueColors Theater Company, and I'm bringing to you live episode 22. I believe this is 22. Is it 22 or is it 23? Y'all, we are at the point where now the numbers are starting to just add up. And I am unsure if this is episode 22 or 23. I believe it's 22. Let's just rock with that. Y'all, I'm so excited because I have as my guest today for the TrueColors Podcast, Mr. Glam Rock Soul himself, Victor Jackson. He is a multi-hyphenate artist doing his thing. And I'm really, really excited to talk to him about how he makes it all happen, how he balances the work, especially in these times, what brings him joy, and all these other things. I want to use his song, He Belongs to the City, as this week's moment of joy. We have a lot of things to celebrate, and we always try to find things that are bringing us joy, making us smile, exciting us in these crazy, crazy times. But his song is just like, that's really in my head. It's such a great and amazing earworm. If you haven't, go to his Instagram page. I believe it's at Mr. Glam Rock Soul. Of course, we'll drop it. Check our story because we have been posting a little bit about him. Check it out, man. You are going to love that song the way that I love that song. So I'm really excited to be speaking to him. You know, like always, if there's any time at the end, I will share with you all. So, especially been watching the DNC. But without further ado, let me bring to the TrueColors Podcast my good friend and like the man of the hour, Mr. Glam Rock Soul. What up, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you? Did I leave? I'm trying to make sure. Fine. Now it's like,
This way. You still
all
there
right.
with me?
Yeah, I'm here. We're
Oh,
good.
okay. All right. What I was going to say is that, Victor, you know, ours has been a relationship, man, where we have had moments of intersection and we've collaborated a couple of different times. But I feel like every time I leave those, like, man, we got to find more opportunities. And I've just been seeing you blow up. And before I met you, your star was rising, and now, man, it's just blazing hot as ever. So I'm really excited that you got an opportunity to take an hour of your day to come chat with us. Man, for folks who don't know you, Victor,
Uh-huh.
tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Where you be hanging out? Tell us a little bit about that.
My name is Victor Jackson. I'm from College Park, Georgia. Grew up on the South Side. Went to Tricities High School, along with
Tri-City.
Maisha McQueen
Everybody.
and Jewel Lane and Candy Burris and Keena Thompson and Saquon Simblodge and Keena Calacango. My sister Aisha Jackson, who just joined the live.
Okay.
So went to Tri-Cities High School. My parents met in choir in college, so sang growing up, sang at church, did talent shows with my siblings, and just knew that I always wanted to work in the performing arts. Just did everything that I needed to do to make it happen, and it's been lots of twists and turns along the way. But I'm very, very grateful to be where I am now and in a position where I work in music and dance, acting, and fashion.
Can you tell us what was that moment like when you were able to look at a calendar and say, you know what, every day this
Hmm.
week or every day this month, every day this year, I'm doing something full with art. Maybe,
Yeah,
of course, you're a multi-hyphenate, so you do it different ways. What does
yeah.
that feel like? What did that feel like the first time you're able to look at the calendar and say, oh, I don't have to have like a regular 9 to 5. I can just do the
Right.
art thing.
I will say, it's been like a fluctuation, you know
Right.
what I mean? It's
Cyclical,
been
right?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, this is a great 3 to 6 months. And then it's like, this is a terrible 3 to 6 months. One thing I will say that I know for certain is that when we lean into the seasons of life, we're able to experience like the harvest that comes with it. And so it is really great. Well, it's really great to, look over the field of your life and see, all of these things being lined up. I've learned to also love and honor the moments of rest that look like a lot of times can look like, scarcity. But when you see them, when you shift your perception and you see them as rest, then they become the times where you can refuel for your next, moment of harvest. And so it's been great. I will say right now, interestingly enough, in the middle of a pandemic, it has been where my daily schedule is always working on a creative project. And it is exhausting, but extremely rewarding.
Yeah, you mentioned your training at Tri-Cities, and you listed off so many talented Atlanta-based, Atlanta-born and bred artists. And I've had opportunity to talk to a couple of them, and you all have been talking about just that rest. Can you talk about what that training was like at Tri-Cities that
Hmm.
kind of prepared you for a career
Hmm.
in this art, so where you recognize, oh, hey, let me get this rest in, but also how you
Yeah.
push through and create art at the height that you've been able to do?
Yeah. I think the beauty in having black teachers, black performing arts teachers, and also white teachers who were very vocal allies is that I realized that art is a form of protest and it is a form of resistance. And so I cannot be on the front line of speaking truth to power through my art if I'm not also like taking time and taking the moments to rest and
Mhm.
to re-energize myself and to read and to be inspired, and so that is a practice that Freddie Hendrix and Robert Connor and Don Atsum, these people who
Say
also
the
work,
names. Yes.
who also work in the industry, but that's a practice that they leaned into for us very strongly. And it was like, we want you to do your best work and we want you to be able to perform and to succeed. And so, in order to do that, you can't be out at the football games on Friday night screaming to the top of your lungs and then going to Waffle House afterwards, eating all the grease and the cheese, and then thinking you're going to do a two-show matinee on Saturday. And so, that was something that was put in me, I'll say from like 15.
Mm.
I did my, well, I mean, younger than that. I did my first musical at Tri-Cities my freshman year. And so it was just something, it was indoctrinated. So now my work ethic, I am very comfortable with that flow or that cycle rather of rest and perform, rest and perform, rest and perform. So, yeah, Tri Cities, I wouldn't be who I am today without Tri Cities High School. I knew in third grade that I wanted to go to Tri Cities High School and was on it ever since then.
I can't have someone from that Tri Cities Mafia on the podcast without giving you guys the opportunity to shout out Freddie Hendrix and Don Axum and Robert Connor and just all of the training that you guys did. Just because it's you all, unbeknownst to so many people, have put so much good art and talented people out in the world that I want to make sure that that gets highlighted. But you, Victor, you are doing that type of bringing that type of training to young people today. You do it, thankfully, partly through your work as a teaching artist through TrueColors education
Yeah.
program. Can you talk about what that feels like now, giving back to students? I imagine that you've done it all throughout your career,
Mhm.
but what type of lessons are you able to share with that next generation, and how have you put your own spin on it to
Yeah.
share with the next generation what you how you were raised through this industry?
Yeah. I, I, it has been an extreme pleasure and honor, honestly, to be a teaching artist with True Colors Theater Company because I came into True Colors as a what's the word that we said? I think it was an apprentice is what it was
Okay.
called
Yeah.
when we did like the young professionals
Mm.
productions. And so now to be able to go out and teach and also the students that I'm teaching be able to introduce them to other programs that can their further their training and also like give them performance opportunities as well has been like super, super rewarding for me. I actually got a DM. I woke up to a DM from a student with Broadway Dreams, which is another organization that I've taught with. And she was just like, thank you so much for everything that you've taught me. And I don't know, it's kind of mind blowing, but it keeps me like super grounded. Like it's very easy to fall into being the victor that has car service and, you know, flight benefits and, you know, like all those things.
Fancy.
And yeah, you know, it's very easy to fall into that. But it's so grounding to know that I'm continuing the work that my teachers started in me, and that I'm continuing that legacy, and that students literally all over the world, I've taught in Germany, I've taught in Russia, I've taught in New Zealand, literally all over the world are experiencing the the wealth of knowledge that those teachers have put in me. And I'm able to, as like a Black queer man, add my layer of life experience on top of it. I didn't have any, though I had Black teachers, I didn't have any queer teachers at all. And the nuances of traversing this industry as a person that is both Black and queer are very unique in particular. And a lot of times we see like incredible artists who are Black and queer, and we're like, oh, of course they can dance, of course they can sing, they're Black and queer, and of course they can design great costumes and, you know, all those things. But what we don't always think about is how much that person has to like fight to be who they are, in their homes, in their schools, in the workplace. And so I'm happy that I get to be a beacon of inspiration to my students who are black and queer, and show them like, you know, all hope is not lost. You are special. You are important. You are here for a reason. And lean into your work, lean into your truth, and watch what it can manifest for you.
Oh man, I'm loving this, guys. I'm getting excited, man. Y'all know this is the best part of the podcast because I just feel like, oh man, I'm getting to talk to people just about this stuff, y'all. Today, my guest is Mr. Glam Rock Soul, Mr. Victor Jackson. We are talking about all things about his career, how he grew up in his training in Tricities, coming up from College Park, Georgia, to now being an international advocate and just a beacon for not just theater students, but also with the specificity of Black queer students. Victor, I want to spend a little time talking about this. When we have, here we are in 2020, and I think, you know, for anyone who is maybe 20 or younger, we may feel like we have always been present, these conversations, the ability to live one's life as public and as proud as one can today may feel like it has always been a right that has been shared amongst all people, but history shows us that it's been in cycles. Can you just talk about, you know, how have you come into your own, or have you always felt like, you know, I can be who I am, how I am, and I don't ever have to oscillate between those spaces?
I have not always felt that way at all. And it's so interesting because in this time of pause in the pandemic, I moved back in with my parents, and I've been staying with them since April. And actually, all of my siblings are there.
You have a great family too. I've had a chance to meet them, and just awesome, great people.
And we turned out the after party for our opening night.
The first Noel, right.
Yeah. And my dad, your frat brother. Shout out to y'all. But no, that has not always been the case. My dad is a pastor. He became an ordained minister in 1991. And growing up in the Black church, I heard throughout my entire life that being gay is a sin. You're going to hell. Not only did I hear that, I was also hearing that, like, if you use your gifts outside of the church, secular music, I wasn't allowed to listen to anything other than gospel music growing up. I wasn't allowed to go to like dances unless my parents were like chaperones. Like, it was very, very strict religious upbringing. But because my parents sang and they met singing in choir, that was the thing that we all did together in church. And there was a very nice librarian at College Park Library who would like get musicals for me, and I would watch musicals, movie musicals, and I would listen to original Broadway cast recordings, and that was the way that I kind of stayed inspired and discovered who I was from seeing people who looked like me. And at that point, I didn't know if they were queer or not, but it wasn't really what mattered to me because at that age, I was discovering myself and discovering things about myself. And so it was a difficult journey. And actually, the funny thing, I had a conversation with my youngest sister, who's 25, and she was like, I just feel like you're always like, every time you talk to mommy and daddy, you're always so like, And I was like, I take that and I received it. And I was like, what I'm having to deal with or kind of come to grips with is that for a lot of my life, I couldn't speak for myself. The structure of this home didn't allow me to say how I was feeling. And the dogma of the church that I was growing up in didn't allow me to feel comfortable with who I was. And so I suppressed a lot of things. And now I'm 35 and I've traveled the world, and I get to be who I am on TV, and I get to be who I am in the workspace, but being who I am in the home space and in a personal space, and specifically with my family, is something that I am actively doing the work on, and like working with my therapist and like doing all those things to come to a point where I'm able to exist fully as myself in all spaces.
In this season where we've been celebrating joy and pain, I think sometimes we think about them as, opposite emotions.
Hmm.
And I think,
Hmm.
what we've been saying, that in the lives of Black people, those things are inextricable. And what I hear you saying, that as a Black queer person, that those things are like entangled inside every piece, whether it be home life, whether it be
Yeah.
coming into oneself. And I think you even have recognized that even as somebody who has achieved international acclaim, that you still have a process that you're undergoing, so that it is not a destination, but that it
Hmm.
is an ongoing process. And just your ability and to speak that out there, I'm hoping that anybody who's listening now live or and later, and anyone who's heard you speak, uh, understands that, realizes that, and that can give them some type of solace in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have found in like especially like now where like everything's digital and it's a lot of conversation happening. I have found the value in sharing my story and in sharing my journey. Um, and I found the value in listening to other people's, and I'm really excited about the empathy that can be manifested from this era in time, because I feel like we're getting to know each other in a way that we haven't. Like we move and we shake like in the world
Mhm.
as people, and we hit our marks, we go to where we need to go, we do what we need to do, and we interact with the people who we need to interact with. But I am very, very hopeful that in this moment we're getting to know and hear from people who don't necessarily look or love like us, and through that we're shifting our perception of those people.
You guys, my guest today is Mr. Victor Jackson, and we are talking about all things. We are navigating joy and pain. We're talking about just how we come into our own, and being able to provide a platform where people who you can share. A platform where you can share your similar experience to people, but also that you can introduce people to new experiences. And
Hmm.
one of the things that again, I mentioned it at the beginning, man, I've been tripping out, and my daughter was just dancing to "He Belongs to the City." Partly she was stalling before nap time, man, but she was grooving. And Victor, man, I swear that I lose it every time I hear you say verse two. I was like, yeah, let's go, Victor. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Give him the second verse. Brother, can you just talk about, man, when you get those creative juices flowing, and you have that choreography work and you have that vocalist work, and you're also just such a talented performer. How do you decide what artistic project you're gonna put your energy in, or is it always like I'm thinking of it from all three aspects?
I I have tried to think of it from all three aspects, and it is very difficult. And so I stopped doing that very early on in my career. And as you were speaking of cycles like earlier, I found, hey Amber,
Hey, Amber.
who I met doing Black Nativity with True Colors.
Right,
So
right, right.
yeah, shout out. But yeah, I have found that I cannot do them all at one time. And so I move by the spirit, and with the muses, and I let that take me where I need to go, and I let it show me, reveal to me how my instrument is most useful in this space, in whatever time and space. And there were moments where like I had a band from like 19 to 23. And I was performing with that band. We had a residency at a restaurant on Peachtree while I was also like doing wardrobe styling work and working out of a boutique. The band rehearsed in the boutique after hours. And like those things, like working in the boutique gave me a space and like customer base to kind of talk about what I was doing with my band and all those things. But at that point, I also had an uncle who was experiencing homelessness, and he was living down on Auburn Avenue, the same street where the band was. And it gave me an opportunity to get to know my uncle and gave him a job like cleaning the windows, and was able to tell my dad like this is where your brother is. And and so what I found, that's just one instance, but what I found is that every time that I just lean into where life is directing me, there's healing there, there's reconciliation there. Like you said, there's joy and there's pain. And the two get to coexist and push me into like whatever the next phase is. So like right now, I my great grandmother passed from coronavirus in April, and
Um,
He Belongs to the City. Thank you. But He Belongs to the City was a song that I recorded last October, and I recorded it. I went through a breakup. I went through like a really deep depression in December. I flew to the other side of the world. I taught in January. I came back. I thought my life was like doing what it needed to do. And then coronavirus hit, and I pumped the brakes on everything. And in that time, He Belongs to the City came back up to the surface. And I was doing an IG live with a friend of mine who's also an artist. Her name is India Shawn. And I was talking to her about what it was like for her to release music. She signed to Epic Records, and she had like a whole rollout plan for 2020. And she was like, it got to a point where I just realized like I needed to release this music not for me, but for whoever else may hear this and be affected by it in one way or another. Being affected by music isn't always going to be like super deep and super resonant. Sometimes it's just like your daughter being able to groove out. And that's what I realized with He Belongs to the City. And that I wanted to remind people that they deserve to live, they deserve to love, and they deserve to dance. No matter in the beauty of your blackness, in the beauty of your queerness, in the beauty of your uniqueness, whatever it may be, you deserve to live, you deserve to love, and you deserve to dance. And I put out He Belongs to the City with that intention. And hearing people of all ages, all walks of life, um, interact with it and love it shows me that I did what I was supposed to do. And so I'm really excited about the rest of the music that's coming along with that project.
One of the things that I really love is that, and you've won awards for your music album, your music videos, because I think like
Hmm.
as someone who has seen you as a performer, it seems like that's the perfect space for all of your talents and intelligences to come together. Your
Yeah.
sharp understanding of costume and shape, and how that influences your choreography work, and you're a natural performer. The camera loves you, the stage loves you. So those videos are amazing. I had a chance to check out Layover,
I was like, damn, like I'm slow on this. Like, how have I not seen this, John? Like, and like maybe at a time in my life, my wife is on another call, so I can say this. She doesn't
Uh-huh.
listen to the podcast, but like your layover would have been my jam back in the day. um, so I want to talk to you a little bit about like, how does that all come together for you? I had a chance to
Yeah.
check out the behind the scenes of,
Hmm.
He Belongs to the City that you did with the Global Black Gay Pride
Hmm.
Festival. Like, talk to me about how all that stuff comes together, and do you really love music videos the way that they seem to come off as just
Yeah.
so amazing for you?
I love music videos, and just I want to shout out Vandalee 3, who's also an incredible music video producer.
Shout out, shout
And
out.
so like it's just so crazy that he checked in right now. But I love music videos. Well, the thing is I grew up, as I said earlier, I grew up watching movie musicals. And
Hmm.
so that shaped a
Right,
lot
right.
of how I ingested music because I couldn't listen to secular music growing up. It would be easier for me to like stay up late or wake up early and watch the box and see, music videos there,
Ooh,
right? But like movie musicals gave me storytelling, it gave me camera angles, it gave me costuming, it gave me lighting, it gave me all of those things. And so it was the way that I ingested that art. And then In Vogue's Giving Him Something He Could Feel video
yeah,
was the
yeah, yeah.
music video that made me say, I want to be a choreographer. Like that was the video where I was like, this is because it was storytelling. Like it wasn't just, people in the middle of a street or like on the door stoop, just like it was like a story. It was the tight shot of the man like slipping his wedding ring into his
Hmm.
inner lapel. It was just like all of those little nuances, and I was like, I want to tell stories like this. So Bus of Love, which was my first video. We shot it in College Park. It was like taking the story of the Wiz and like doing this spin on it. That was like super fun to do. And then when I did Layover, there is a scene in All That Jazz about Fosse movie. And the scene is a number called Take Off With Us. And Paula Abdul's Cold Hearted Snake video also like riffs on
Hmm.
that scene. But I wanted to play on that scene because of its connection to Layover, to just like the airplane reference. And I also wanted to play on just that iconic shot of Liza Minnelli standing on one foot in the chair in Cabaret, just like surrounded by a lot of chairs. And so yeah, I just kind of like mixed those up in a vat and poured them out, and it got me, best music video at the
Yeah.
Barcelona Film Festival in 2018. But it's fun. I've worked with a lot of artists on music videos, and it's always fun. So it's been incredible to do it for myself, and I'm actually in pre-production for videos for He Belongs to the City and Venom. So you should be getting
Man,
those soon.
Man, I was scouring the internet. I said, I gotta find this one. So I was able to stumble across the Global Black Gay Pride video,
Hmm. Hmm.
which was amazing. Talk a little bit about, how that all came together.
Yeah, my friend Deshaun Usher, who works with GLAD and also with Moby, which is a nonprofit out of New York that is super intentional about mobilizing Black queer men and giving them opportunities to learn about self-love and also use their arts, their gifts, their talents in ways that just elevate the community. And so Deshaun reached out to me, and we were just having honestly a regular conversation on the phone. And I was being a Leo and being dramatic and just being like, I just miss performing. This life is so hard for me. I miss the stage. I miss the lights. And he was like, well, actually, I had a call earlier about this situation. It's Global Black Gay Pride. I mean, yeah, Global Black Gay Pride, and it's the first time that they're doing it. You will have to pre-tape your performance, and you just like these are the deadlines. Like, do you have time to do it? Um, and I was like, I can figure it out. And so at that point, I hadn't um, solidified the release date for He Belongs to the
Mm,
City. And I was like, uh, okay, wait, is this a thing? Is this a play? And as most of my life as in the creative field has been, things just line up. Like when you kind of just take a moment and take a deep breath and look around you, things line up. And so doing that performance was incredible. We had a 5 hour block. Candy let me shoot it at OLG in their event space, and we had a 5 hour block. I choreographed He Belongs to the City during that 5 hour block. I had an old rehearsal video from Venom, so I sent that to the two dancers who were doing it. One of the dancers had already danced to Venom before, so like that was like an hour that we put to that. He Belongs to the City rehearsal ended up being like 2 hours, and so we ended up having 2 hours to shoot that performance. And I changed my clothes, I set up the light, and I'm kind of like calling out shots. And I work with Luis Lopez with Indie AF Films, and they're incredible. And he and his colleague Jordan just really leaned in. My sisters, Aisha and Dree, were my production assistants. My friend Candace was my assistant director, and we really just leaned in and just like pushed for it. And so the fact that it has 10,000 views now on my IGTV blows my mind, because it was so run and gun. It was so like, I styled everybody. I have a little storage with like a lot of items for dancers. So I'm like pulling stuff out and like making sure everybody has what they need. And it was a wing and a prayer, but it was exactly what it needed to be in that moment. And again, like I said, what it has done, even like my friend Alex, whose birthday is today, actually, happy birthday, Alex. Them doing the introduction for me and being just like, Victor is an icon, a legend, a star. I was like, wait, I didn't give you the script. Wait.
Hype it up.
Right. I was like,
Let's go.
I hope this is. But just all of those things coming together just is a constant reminder and a constant confirmation that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that, my work is not in vain, and that that I'm living in my purpose.
Great.
Yeah.
Man, you have a history of like talking people up. That Sean Usher just signed on, and we were just about to talk to Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yeah.
A collaboration that you have with Algebra. So it's funny to see all these people sign on to support you. You guys, hey, my guest today is Mr. Victor Jackson, Mr. Glam Rock Soul himself. Man, we are talking all things about his life, his career, how he's navigating it all, how he's finding joy in these crazy times, but also how he's just bringing joy and exciting so many people. Victor, one of the things I loved, and then we'll pivot off to something else about He Belongs to the City, is just some of the viral videos that I was seeing, just of people, doing some of the dance moves and things like that. And it's like, man, my brother is TikToking, like all this stuff. People are rocking with it. They are loving it. And that is so amazing to see. You mentioned some of the advocacy work that you've been involved in, and I just want to talk a little bit about, just speak to people about the Pride and Soul Festival, something that you started, and how you've worked with the Counter Narrative Project and getting out the Black gay vote and speaking up about these issues. How have you used your art for activism as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read a book in 2014. The name of the book is Purpose Awakening. It's written by Teray Roberts. And I read that book while I was on tour with Iggy Azalea and living, like, Fancy was the #1 song in the country, like living my best life, but also feeling a bit unfulfilled and feeling like I was throwing all of my energy into one space and wanting to kind of redistribute it into some other areas. And so I read that book, and in reading that book, I discovered my purpose, and I was able to like put language to the fact that my purpose is to shift the perception of people who look and love like me. And identifying that as my purpose also made it a litmus test for things that I did and I involved myself in, and it made me walk away from a lot of things, including my job with Iggy Azalea, but it also presented countless opportunities like those with the Counter Narrative Project to be able to lean into my uniqueness and to shift the perception of my uniqueness, of people who are unique like me. And so the Counter Narrative Project, which I think they're amazing. I think the world of them, and I think the world of their work. And so when Johnny reached out to me about the Black Gay Vote campaign, it was for the 2016 election, and I was kind of just like, okay, I'm down, like I'll do it. But wearing that shirt and being in public was a very like surreal experience, and like having cars drive by and seeing people stare or seeing people honk or seeing people, you know what I mean? And I realized how important it was to put myself out there. Not that I am the only person that lives the same life that I live, but I can just be an extra push and an extra push of visibility for people like me. And so it has been a journey, and it's a journey that has kind of really picked up acceleration in like the last few months. Even I got invited to do the first TEDx Morehouse College, and that was supposed to be in April. And in writing my talk, they were like, oh no, we want you to talk about you, Black gay man. That's what we want you to talk about. And I was like, guys, but even that, it was such a cathartic process. And, you know, I don't know when it'll happen, but it helped me ease into the work that I'm doing now. So Pride and Soul was born of just wanting, me being a Black queer artist and me wanting to provide a platform for other Black queer artists in Atlanta specifically. I've done a lot of shows around the city, a lot of artist showcases, pop-ups here and there with friends who I have, but never anything that affirmed Black queer artistry. And so I did Pride and Soul last year. The first time was it was the inaugural Pride and Soul, and it was on Juneteenth, 2019. And that alignment was not lost on me. And so this year we are I had a call this morning, honestly, about it, and I don't want to say too much, but we are looking to do Pride and Soul virtually and unplugged in collaboration with something else that's happening in the fall here in Atlanta. So keep your ears and eyes open because, yeah.
I was gonna say, hey, holla at us. We, let us know. We trying to do some things too. So
Okay.
so don't forget to rock with us, man.
Gotcha.
I want to. I have so many things I want to talk to you about, and just trying to find those natural pivot points. I also want to take this opportunity, one, to shout out a really generous donor, Derek. Thank you very much for your donation. Appreciate that. Appreciate anybody who's donated to TrueColors. You guys have been so generous over the last 21 episodes. This is being episode 22 of the TrueColors podcast. Like, thank you guys. That's awesome that you all care and love what we do.
Thank you, Derek.
Also want to say, hey, if you guys have any questions for Victor, feel free to drop them in the comments or in the Q&A box. We'll try to get to those questions a little bit later. Victor, you are you're not a stranger to Instagram podcast. You have one that's called Fame Cost. Can you talk a little bit just about that, and who are you sitting down with? What are some of the things that y'all are exploring as well?
Fame Cost started as a random t-shirt that I designed while I was on the Candy Factory, a dancewear company reached out to me about doing a capsule collection, and I was like, sure. And I did it because it's derived from that infamous line from the TV show Fame, delivered by Debbie Allen. Fame costs, and this is where you start paying for it in sweat. And you want fame, well, fame costs. And this is where you start paying for it in sweat. And
I appreciate you going back and getting the quote right. Debbie Allen would be proud. Go ahead.
Let me. But yeah. And so did the t-shirt. People bought the t-shirt. It was cool. Show didn't get a second season. I kind of just like Moved to LA in 2015, was attending the Church of Teray Roberts, and Sarah Jakes Roberts, shout out to them. And Sarah did a sermon and she was like, pick up that thing that you put down. And I was like, huh. And so picked it up, started a blog. God specifically said start a podcast. And I was like, a blog is easier. Started a blog, did it for a couple of months, stopped it. Recorded 3 episodes of House Conversations as a podcast in 2018. Did an episode with Derek J. Donor.
Shout out.
Jasmine Guy. And my god, right, who, right, shout out. And my god sister, Tracy Pickett, who is the creator and founder of Hairbrella, did those 3 episodes, recorded them, got the sessions back, and was like, editing, a lot. Didn't do it. So as, the pandemic set in and quarantine set in, and I was like kind of driving myself crazy, like, God, I'm feeling all of these things, right? I'm feeling, the angst of wanting to be on stage. I'm feeling the anger of, Ahmaud Arbery being shot and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. I'm feeling just the hopelessness of the Black trans women who are being murdered all across the country. Like, how can I speak to these things? And how can I speak to like-minded people who also have a platform and who also experience a level of privilege because of where they exist in the zeitgeist? And so God very simply said, Fame Cost Conversations. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And really like closed my eyes, looked at the calendar, pointed to a Friday and was like, that's the Friday that I'll do it. I hit up Alex. I said, Alex, can you do Fame Cost? I'm starting this thing. I really want to do it. I think it'll be fun. This was like right in the like height of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which is a show on NBC that Alex is on. And I was like, can you do it? And Alex was like, yeah, I'll do it. And that Friday is actually the day that my single comes out. So it'll be perfect. And I was like, okay, God, I get it.
I see you.
And so from there, I've spoken to Alex, spoken to Brian Jordan Jr. From Tyler Perry's Sisters. I've spoken to Brittany Inge from BET's Boomerang, India Shawn, Derek J. I've done a Black Business Spotlight. And it's been really, really great. Like, honestly, incredible. And I get to speak to these people and they get to share their stories. We get to share how we know each other. We get to share the lessons that were learned in those moments. And we get to inspire people and just speak to how important it is to stay motivated, to rest, to stay inspired, to check in with yourself. All of those things. And it's just been really, really great for me. It's been really, really fulfilling for me. I get burnt out a lot of times. There have been some weeks where I've just been like, this was a really hard week for me, emotionally taxing week for me. And I will get on my live and I will say that. And I'll be like, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week. But it has been really, really great. And I'm happy that I get to express myself in that way.
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of the things that you talked about are some of the reasons why I love doing the TrueColors Podcast, why we started it, and why it's been so important and crucial to us. When we got kicked off with the TrueColors Podcast, it really was in the beginning of this pandemic, but as we, moved through it, like you mentioned, we learned more about Ahmaud Arbery, we learned more about Breonna Taylor, and then we saw the tragic killing of George Floyd. At that time, so many people were trying to rethink their entire environment, what they were putting their energies toward. And one of the things that personally I got involved in TrueColors in the larger space, and so many other artists, in radically rethinking what the Atlanta theater community could look like. So I'm going to ask you to do this thing that I've been asking all of our guests to do. If you just close your eyes and play with me. Close your eyes and think about what a radically reinvented Atlanta theater community looks like, or an Atlanta arts community. and then share with us what you see.
The the funny thing about this is this will now be the third time that I've said this out loud this week, between Sunday and now. And what it looks like to me is a unified front. I think for a very long time, Atlanta has had an epicenter of its arts community, and then everybody else has gotten whatever crumbs are specific to their plight, their community, their location, through, grant funding, through donors, through all those things. But it has still been crumbs in comparison to what the epicenter receives. So what a new radical revolutionary arts community in Atlanta looks like to me is true unity. A place where we can collectively break down systemic racism and break down how it has seeped into the arts and the theater community, not from Broadway on down to Atlanta. And we can really look at those things and we can say, we're not just doing pieces from Black, Indigenous, or other people of color to check off boxes or to get grant funding. We're not just doing queer pieces because Pose is really popular right now or because Kinky Boots is really popular right now. We're not just engaging with Terrell McCraney now because he won an Oscar or, other writers who are now making it happen, but we are looking at each other. We're looking at every artist. We're seeing them. We're not saying, oh, we don't see color or we don't see gender, but we are seeing it. And we're actively seeing it, and we're seeing the beauty in it. We're seeing the value in it. We're seeing the purpose in it. We're seeing the worth in it. And instead of thinking about what our donors want to see or what our subscribers want to see, we are unabashedly going forward and uplifting and elevating and amplifying voices that need to be heard.
I love it, man. I get excited when I listen and I talk to artists, man, about the way they do it. And now it's just like, it becomes my job to go out and try to make it happen. So I'm really excited for that consistent push. Victor, I want you to take us out on this. We're navigating joy and pain this season, and I want to know what's bringing you joy. I shared earlier that He Belongs to the City is bringing my house a lot of joy, and seeing my daughter dance to it. That you guys can go find on Spotify, iTunes. Go to Victor's IG page and figure out all about that. But what's bringing you joy these days, my friend?
The opportunity for healing is bringing me joy right now. The opportunity for healing. And what comes with that is a lot of vulnerability comes with that, but a lot of love comes with that. And a lot of honesty comes with that. And a better future eventually comes from that. And so the opportunity for healing is what's bringing me joy, and seeing those wounds disappear, seeing like, it's like I remember being a kid and being amazed at like how Neosporin works. Like, I can really put this on me, and something that brought me so much pain can just like disappear. And like, I'll still have the memory, but like the pain goes away, and I can use that memory to navigate my future, right? And so in this moment, in this time of pause, I'm welcoming the healing, and I'm welcoming the burn of the alcohol. I'm welcoming the tension of the Band-Aid, and all of those things. I'm putting on the Band-Aid, I'm letting it breathe. I'm doing all of those things because I know that on the side of this, that healing will produce joy. It'll produce love. It'll produce patience. It'll produce comfort, and it'll produce a better future for me and for my tribe.
Yeah, man, y'all. TrueColors Podcast is I hope it does for you all what it does for me. It really is the highlight of my week. Victor, tell the people where they can find you.
You can follow me on all social media platforms at Mr. Glam Rock Soul. My website is www.mrglamrocksoul. And my music, Venom and He Belongs to the City, is available on all streaming platforms.
You guys, quick, he's giving you a game on your branding. Make sure all your branding is the same. Make it easy for people to find you. Make it easy, y'all.
Yes.
Victor, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for who
Thank you
you
for
are,
having me.
everything you bring. Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us here on the podcast.
Yes. Have a good one.
Same to you, sir.
And I'll be in touch.
Good. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, man. Peace.
Guys, my guest today was Mr. Glam Rock, so please check him out, y'all. He's just dope. He is really dope. I wanted this last little bit of time just to remind everybody, hey, y'all, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Stay safe. Do what you need to do. I know so many of us are working as essential workers, and that causes us to go out and be on the front lines. But even whenever you are, please mask up. I've been seeing a lot of things happening, especially in our community here in Atlanta, Georgia, where we have a governor who seems to be unaware that all of us are managing through a pandemic and trying to push and advocate for things. And I'm also seeing a lot of college athletics starting to push forward when we also have colleges and universities having to shut down and manage these rises in coronavirus cases. There is something, in my opinion, fundamentally wrong for us as a society to be announcing how many people we can pack into football stadiums while we are also putting the lives of these student athletes at risk by asking them to go out and play a sport that is going to make people a lot of money but not pay the students anything. I'm a former athlete, so I feel like I'm speaking from a position of knowledge of just what that grind is. And I think that that's troubling, especially as we hear about, schools like UNC and Notre Dame that are having to shut down and go. I mean, it also touches me very close to home because my sister is going back for her sophomore year at NYU. And while New York is doing so much better than other places in controlling the virus, I'm still very nervous for her going back to school and trying to navigate what that is. Because I was a college student and I was a dumbass college student. Like I was doing a lot of crazy, risky stuff, and I couldn't imagine how it must be to have to navigate a disease that is killing now at this point over 170,000 Americans, and trying to ask these students to keep themselves safe and not to be spreaders of this thing. So I'm just asking all of you all, let's just do our part. Because what I miss more than anything right now is I miss being able to be live with you all creating art. And when we don't control this thing and when we act like it's not real and when we try to push people to go beyond safety measures just to drive income, I think it keeps us further and further away from getting back to what we used to do. So just as artistic director of a theater company, I'm asking you all to stay safe so that we can go ahead and bring back and that we aren't going to be bringing back our artists or our audiences just to make money when it's not safe. And I wish others would do the same. But y'all, let's end it with some joy. Go check out He Belongs to the City. And I hope like you, like me, that when Victor says verse 2, that it gives you so much joy and that it really sends your week, your day, it changes the mood and all that. Y'all, I love you. Check me out next week. I'll be back next week at Thursday, 1 p.m. back here where we'll be bringing episode 23 of the TrueColors Podcast. Love you all. Talk to you all next week.